The horror film So Real the FBI Investigated It. I have absolutely no idea what this video is about. I think that like the thumbnail shows something about like a Japanese guy or something. Might be a little bit racist Korean. That's definitely racist. All right, I'll just lock in.
You know, in the 80s, I was obsessed with tracking down weird videos. Just weird videos and weird films we had seen. And one of the films that came to me was a movie called Guinea Pig. And I promptly made a copy of it, and the FBI said, you need to hand over the original tape.
That is Chris Gore, and the tape he's talking about contained a copy.
What about this film made the FBI be like, yeah, we have to see this shit. We have to investigate this shit. There had to be the craziest shit ever for them to like actually like have a FBI investigating this film. Like, what the fuck is this?
Of a Japanese horror film from 1985. Back then, as the founder of the infamous Film Threat magazine, he was always on the lookout for the most obscure movies he could possibly find. And the way to do that was to tap into the somewhat underground world of VHS tape trading.
We were trading tapes with so many people, and then the thing is they would send me their weird tapes. That's how we did all of this.
Those tapes would often contain unauthorized copies of movies.
It's crazy because like now, like you literally could find like I think every movie ever made on the internet. I'm pretty sure they were like literally trading VHS tapes like from the States and shit. Like that's insane.
From all around the world that were either extremely difficult to find or straight up banned in some countries. The kind of stuff you couldn't just find in your local Blockbuster. And while the majority of the movies were just strange or bizarre, one of them felt different.
Yeah, I forgot what the other one's called. Is it like Basket or some shit? Like the Clay Gooey dude? I've never seen that movie or the Toxic Avenger, but I do know both of them from Dead Meat, I'm pretty sure. And because I'm pretty sure they released a Toxic Avenger movie like last year with Peter Dinklage or whatever the fuck his name is.
There was no music, no more than a basic title graphic, and not even the standard practice of opening credits. It almost felt like someone's private home video of a man observing strangers in front of a train station in Tokyo until he eventually sees a young lady and proceeds to stalk her, slowly driving his car behind her, and as soon as they get far away from the busy streets of the city, he chases her down and abducts her. The rest of the movie takes place in some creepy makeshift slaughterhouse, and since I cannot possibly show—
Did they investigate this film because they thought that this was like an actual kidnapping and murder? Hey, they had to have some good ass acting, and by the looks of it, that shit looked creepy as fuck. And, I mean, it actually doesn't make sense. So, like at the same time, like how would this be turned into a film, or is it just all random VHS tapes? I don't know.
Show you what happens next. Instead, I'll give you some context with, let's just say, dramatic reenactment.
He cut her limbs off. Did it look realistic? Nah, they had to have some crazy ass like practical effects for that shit to actually look realistic. Like, there's just no way. Cannibalism too? Not too bad, not too bad.
Oh, that's nasty.
Yeah. All of that happens, and it is shown in great detail with very intricate close-ups right in your face.
Well, isn't that basically just like Terrifier? I get this is the 1980s, but Terrifier literally is just like he's just ripping their limbs apart and then just like eating them or some shit. Like,
the point is, it looked real, so much so that people weren't entirely sure if it was actually fiction or something far more sinister. And one of those people was no other than the actor Charlie Sheen. There are a
Yo, Charlie Sheen, bro. I watched the documentary on that dude. That dude was hard into drugs, bro. Hard into drugs. And turns out, a little gay.
few different accounts of exactly how it happened, but what we know for a fact is that Charlie Sheen saw this movie, and because of him, the FBI got involved.
Well, what happened was they took it very seriously. I'm like, I had all these videos confiscated. I had to be interviewed by the FBI about this video and where I obtained it. The guy who gave me the video got, investigated, and it was weird. All I did was just make a copy of a tape and give it to Charlie Sheen.
They weren't the only ones either. Around the same time, a lawyer in Sweden had found that exact same movie and had also reported it to the police. And over in Britain, a man entering the country with a copy of it had gotten arrested and taken to court because of its possession. Clearly, everyone took this extremely.
I guess. This is the 1980s, but people were getting charged for just possessing this film. Was cannibalism even in horror at that time? Yes, it was. Yes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre did have acts of cannibalism. Pretty sure the second one 100% confirmed that with the chili, but yeah. That is kind of crazy. I don't know that, this isn't FBI worthy, I feel like. Is it? I guess where it's time, maybe. I don't know.
Seriously. And looking back at it now, you might think it's a little bit silly, right? Supposedly it's just a movie. But the thing is that those concerns were not entirely unwarranted. In his 1971 book about Charles Manson, author Ed Sanders included an interview with a member of his cult who claimed that they had once videotaped a murder they've committed. It is one of the first uses of the term snuff film, or basically a movie which shows real violence. And while no such video involving Charles Manson had ever been found, the urban legends began to spread. With consumer cameras becoming more widely available back in the 70s, people began to speculate that the possibility of someone capturing the real stuff was constantly increasing. And in 1976, after reading an article about it, a marketing-savvy film producer took advantage. He filmed a completely...
Yeah, nowadays, just go on Twitter. Just go on Twitter. You're gonna see a lot of porn, and you're gonna see a bunch of school fights, and then you're going to see somebody get decapitated. I saw a dude get folded like a pretzel by an elephant. It is cooked on there. You're gonna see the goriest shit ever. I saw a dude get stabbed to death 80 times in a car, just bleed out. I've really only been on Twitter just to watch school fights and stuff. But it's you're gambling with you're just gambling. It's taking a gamble. It's there's a good chance that you're going to see some crazy shit on there that you're never going to unsee, and you're cooked.
New ending to an unreleased low-budget movie he had the rights to, and in order to promote it, he hired fake protesters to demonstrate against it in theaters, and even reported it to the police himself. As soon as they saw it, people could easily tell it wasn't real, but it did make a profit, and more importantly, it brought the idea of snuff into the mainstream. Now, that one was clearly a hoax, but many of the other films that followed continued to push the limits and blur the lines. In 1978, a pseudo-documentary called Faces of Death had featured a bunch of different ways to die. And while the majority of those were achieved with practical effects and makeup, there were some real ones too, that the filmmakers had taken from news archives and old war footage. Although it got banned in a number of countries and heavily censored, it grossed over $35 million, and in some cases, it showed people real death on the big screen.
So this is basically just an entire movie about ways to die. Motherfucker, that movie could be fucking 8 hours long, bro. Holy shit, there's so many ultra-specific ways that somebody could die. It's insane.
The end of the beginning, or the beginning of the end? I'll leave that decision to you.
Real gore and extreme graphic images were becoming a big debate in society, but the ethics of it were not necessarily the main concern for the authorities. For them, it was crucial to know about how that footage was obtained, because going back to Guinea Pig, the movie that Charlie Sheen had reported, it didn't just show a natural disaster or unfortunate accident, but a very premeditated and vicious crime.
Charlie was so shocked upon watching this film. He was so taken aback, he thought he had witnessed an actual murder.
By the time the FBI...
I feel like we're being a little overdramatic about that, because there's just no way, unless the film is genuinely that gory. Obviously, I don't think they're going to show it, or this video would be demonetized, but I don't know, bro. I really don't know.
I got involved, they quickly found out that the authorities in Japan had also investigated, because a few years after its release, it got connected to a murder case that had completely shaken the country. In the late 80s, a 27-year-old man had taken the lives of 4 young girls in Tokyo in a way that
connected? So this is actually like correlating to something. Or did he just make a stealth film that was similar to that one and took inspiration from it?
I don't even want to describe. The police had found almost 6,000 videotapes in his room, and among the many slasher and snuff films was Guinea Pig. Because of how brutal his crimes were, there was a huge public outrage, and many blamed this kind of movies for encouraging and inspiring him, and as a result, the movie was taken off the shelves.
I don't know. I feel like that's like the same vibe as like GTA's making kids school shooters. Fortnite's making kids shoot up schools. Like, I feel like that's just so stupid. Like, I don't know. But I mean, at the end of the day, this probably did kind of convince him to do what he did. So I feel Fortnite's different. I feel like it's literally just a video game. So I don't know.
So with all the controversy surrounding it and multiple investigations from all around the world, the main question remains: was it snuff or fiction?
All this hellish, unhealthy, violent activity, our kids are seeing this and thinking it's normal.
To find the answer, we need to go back to 1985. Around that time in Japan, the straight-to-video market had experienced a rapid growth. As a result of the increased popularity of VHS tapes that people could just buy directly, smaller filmmakers were able to produce low-budget movies with almost no censorship and significantly less restrictions compared to theatrical releases. That allowed directors to push the boundaries a lot, and considering that horror as a genre was already huge in Japan, they certainly did. So, inspired by
horror was huge in Japan. What, in the 80s? I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like horror in general was huge in fucking everywhere, especially America too. I feel like there were so many shitty films in the like 80s and 70s that were just so ass. I mean, the 90s, it kind of transitioned into more better films, I'd say, though. Like Scream, they made Bride of Chucky. I don't know, they had, and they made, I Know What You Did Last Summer. They had an era, like, where it was, you know, they started making horror films and they got, like, really just slashy and shitty, which, I mean, I'm going to be honest, the Friday the 13th movies, the Halloween movies, all those, they're still kind of shitty. They're not really that scary, but they're iconic, so I'm in. But yeah, and then there was, like, in the, like, somewhat between, like, the end of the 80s and into the 90s, they started making, like, pretty good horror films. And then the 2000s came around and it was just shit. Like, it just went back to just slasher, just shit. I mean, there were still some good films in there, I'd say, like The Strangers and stuff like that, but that was like the later, almost into like the 2010s. The New Strangers, though, oh my god, that shit is so cooked. Those films are actually dog shit. The one with Madeline Petch, I'm pretty sure, from Riverdale, yeah, those are horrible. Like, actually straight dog shit. I'm pretty sure they filmed all three films back to back, and it was supposed to be like a huge trilogy, one coming out like every couple months or every year. I remember I went to go see, I think, Deadpool and Wolverine, and then when they were showing like previews before the movie started, and that was one of them, and I was actually like, oh shit, because I've seen The Strangers, you know what I mean? Well, I've seen Dead Meat, talk about The Strangers. The majority of horror films I've just never seen, like the entire Halloween franchise, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, the Friday the 13th movies, all that shit. Besides the Chucky movies, I have actually just seen all of those when I was like really young. But yeah, I had, like, besides that, a lot of the horror movies I've just never actually seen. I've just seen him do kill counts on them. It's just more entertaining, obviously. He like reviews the entire film, talks about the behind the scenes and everything in such like a good thought out way, and then just tells the entire story basically. And I get he says that you should go watch the movie before a kill count. Like, kill count isn't supposed to, you know, overtake a movie, but like, it's just better than actually wasting an hour and a half watching a film when you could just watch like a 20-minute long video of his on it. You actually just learn more, and it becomes more understanding than watching the actual film. So I mean, yeah, I fucking love Dead Meat. I've been watching Dead Meat for like 7 years, or I'm pretty sure, yeah, like 7 years, like 2019, yeah.
About this, a young producer would set on to create something that would push the envelope even further. And just like that, the Guinea Pig series was born. The first one, Devil's Experiment, he directed himself, and a text in the beginning claimed that it is a real found footage. There were no credits, no dialogue.
Films do that all the time, bro. They always say this is like a true found footage film and all that other shit. They say this is based on a true story, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm pretty sure. I think there's another like film or two. They're just not. They're just blatantly lying to you just to make it seem more unsettling than it actually is. So, but I mean, like, props to them, honestly. I mean, it works. So.
And nothing that would break the illusion. All that was shown was basically someone being tortured for 40 minutes straight, and the whole shtick about it being authentic worked. The movie did really well on the VHS rental market, so naturally it was time for part 2, the one that Charlie Sheen had seen, Flower of Flesh and Blood. For this one, however, he got the help of the prominent manga artist Hideshi Hino. Sometimes referred to as the king of horror manga, Hideshi Hino had built a reputation for his deeply unsettling, grotesque, and borderline terrifying images. This was going to be his very first movie as a director, an entirely new creative medium to him that he wanted to bring a certain level of artistry to. He wanted to elevate it, so instead of it just being straight up gore, he incorporated a tiny bit of narrative. Something that might have gotten lost in translation, because in the very beginning, he lays out the premise that a crazy fan of his horror manga had gotten inspired from it and committed this heinous crime, and had sent him a package with photos, videos, and a letter describing it in great detail.
That is a pretty good plot, though. You make an original film that is about kidnapping a girl and torturing her, and then the next film that you make is basically like, oh, the superfan was inspired by it and then made his own. Here it is. That is actually a good plot, though. That has probably been used a couple times in found footage films, probably, I mean.
But it was so
Should be one of the first, though. So.
graphic that he couldn't show it to us. So instead, what we're seeing is his own artistic interpretation. You can feel that there is a style in some of the editing, the colors, the cinematography, and even down to the
Or wait, was he saying that somebody actually just did this and sent it to him, so he made his own actual version of it for the film? I don't know. If so, that is insane. That somebody actually was inspired by it and then went and made their own snuff film of murdering somebody and torturing them. And then they reenacted it for the... That would be good. That would actually be good. That would be crazy as shit, though.
the over-the-top sound effects.
その後に何か見た人がだからただそれだけじゃないそれから先のね何かをこうイマジネーションしてくれれば面白いんじゃないかなと思うんですけどね。
As opposed to everyone else, Hideshi Hino had never claimed that what was shown was real, but he had done such a good job at making it look convincing that...
Yeah, that should have to be the greatest fucking art of all time to have the FBI investigate. I mean, it's also the 80s, so they're probably pretty fucking gullible, because, I mean, shit now, like, Terrifier, like, it's fucking, like, bro.
To some people, it was. A year later, the filmmakers released some behind-the-scenes footage and showed exactly how it was done. They've experimented with different techniques, materials, wire work, practical effects, and have created over 50 different body parts until they got it just right. It is genuinely a really good showcase of practical effects, if you're into that kind of stuff, of course. The backlash surrounding it, though, had permanent consequences. In a 2009 interview with Vice, Hideshi Hino shared that because of everything that had happened, the production of his first feature film got cancelled, and it also affected his work as an artist. After talking to the police, he also claimed that what they had found in the serial killer's collection was not his, but a later installment in the Guinea Pig series. In the same interview with Vice, Hideshi Hino recalls a time in which a journalist asked a film critic if this sort of video is really necessary in the world, to which he replied, no, absolutely not. And it got me thinking. As I was researching the story, I kept asking myself, what is it exactly that draws us into this kind of extreme horror? On one hand, you have people who are very much against it, because they argue that it could give us the wrong ideas.
I love horror like that. Like, and that might just be me, but I love, like, films that are genuinely, like, horrifying. They're disturbing, they're horrifying. I love watching shit that genuinely creeps me the fuck out, to where the point to where I literally would just lay in my bed and just stiff up my back against the wall. I'm genuinely paranoid. I loved that shit so much.
And there's some cases that support that claim. Remember Faces of Death, the pseudo-documentary that showed people dying? Well, in 1986, a 14-year-old boy killed his classmate and claimed that he got the idea for it precisely because he saw that movie. Killed his career that showed people dying? Well, in 1986, a 14-year-old boy killed his classmate and claimed that he got the idea for it precisely because he saw that movie.
I mean, you can't really blame it on the film necessarily. I mean, if he killed his fucking classmate, he definitely fucking... It's not just because of the movie, it's because he's fucking mentally insane. Like, he has murdering tendencies. He's a psychopath. He's insane. He's just literally a psychopath. Like, he's murdering his classmate. Oh, it's because I saw this film. No, it's because you have mental problems.
Whether that is an isolated case or a real issue, I'm not smart enough to say. I'm sure someone will have a better answer than me.
We don't know the extent to which exposure to this kind of material results in actual violent behavior. What we do know is that exposure to this kind of material results in a more calloused person, a less sensitive person.
And on the other hand, people can argue that it's morbid curiosity.
They know it's entertainment. They know it's special effects. They get together. They have little parties. They watch these movies. They have a good time. I don't think they're really seeing the undercurrents that a lot of paranoid parents are seeing. If the world be a better place because there weren't horror films, so there weren't explicit stalk and slash films, and the world would be at peace, well, then burn all the negatives of every horror film ever made, if that's going to be kind of a guarantee, but it isn't.
It is us facing our own mortality. And to bring it full circle, here's a quote from Film Thread, the magazine from the beginning that sort of started this whole story, which says that it somehow makes us feel alive. We like feeling alive, and we like to feel like we're cheating death by watching movies like that.
That's a very poetic way of putting it. It's a very poetic way of just being like, yeah, I just love watching, torture. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, give this a like. Do I think they're overreacting? Yeah, but it's also like, there's been tons of films like that have come out before that. It's only the 80s. They're 100% overreacting, 100%. But yeah, that's really all I got to say about that film. Good video though. All right, let's move on to the next one.